Hello, everyone, and namaskar. Today, on the Frontlist Media, on the Spotlight session, we are going to talk about the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the book, The 75 Years of Book Publishing in India, published by the Federation of Indian Publishers. Frontlist is a news portal that represents the Indian publishing industry. The brand believes in the power of ecosystem. It envelops the creators, publishers, sellers, providers, and readers of the published world. Spotlight is a monthly discussion series that entails and involves some of the panelists who converse together on any integral subject matter that has been prevalent in the publishing space. These sessions aims to disseminate the proper knowledge to the literary ecosystem. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav is an initiative by the Government of India to celebrate and commemorate the 75 years of independence and the glorious history of its people, culture, and achievements. This mahotsav is dedicated to the people of India who have not only been instrumental in bringing India thus far in the evolutionary journey, but also hold within them the power and potential to enable the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of activating India 2.0, fueled by the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat. The official journey of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav commenced on 12th March 2021, which started a 75-week countdown to our 75th anniversary of independence and will end post a year on 15th August 2023. For this, today we have an eminent panelist who do not need any kind of introduction, well-renowned people in their respective fields. We have Dr. K. Srinivasan Rao, Secretary for the Sahitya Academy, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. Mr. Amish Tripathi, a renowned author from India, director at the Nehru Centre, London, and the Minister of Culture at Indian High Commission, UK. Mr. Ashok K. Ghosh, who is the President Emeritus for the Federation of Indian Publishers and Chairman and Managing Director for the renowned publishing house, PHI Learning Private Limited, and who is considered to be the father of the Indian publishing. So I'll begin the show with all of you. And my first question would be for Mr. Ashok Ghosh. Where does the Indian book publishing stand today per its history?
I think it is right now standing on a good pedestal after 75 years. This year, according to our calculation and Nielsen report, we have published in the just concluded year about 146,000 books in various languages, all Indian languages, including English. And we have already publishing about our market, that is the turnover, that is about 74,600 crores, which is about $9.5 billion, which I think we are going to cross 1 lakh of crores of rupees very shortly. So this is where we stand. We have come a long way from 50 years, 60 years, and now 75 years. So that is what I would say, that there are a large number, about 20,000 publishers are actively publishing in Indian books. So that is also great. And we are marketing our books all over the globe, everywhere, wherever you go, we are selling our books. This is what I want to say. We are on a good platform, good pedestal right now.
Great, sir. Good to know that. And I also believe India is the second largest English language book producer in the world.
Yes, it is the sixth in the total publishing, but second largest after, I think, USA in English language.
Great, sir. Amishji, coming to you. FIP has recently published 75 years of book publishing in India. And what contribution will this book make to the advancement of the Indian publishing industry? And I would like to tell my viewers also that Amishji has also contributed one of the articles for the book, and he authored that as authorship in India. Yes, Amishji.
No, thank you so much, Pranav. Look, there are various issues that we need to discuss as an industry. This is a time of change. Ashokji is right. In many ways, it's the best of times. The number of titles has shot up, 146,000 titles were published in English. We are the second largest. I'm in the UK right now, and in terms of number of titles, I mean, India has actually gone ahead of the UK as well. But in some ways, it's also a very difficult time. This is true for publishing in the West as well, because COVID has impacted negatively many of the publishers. In India, GST has hit business, especially in trade publishing, a great deal. And piracy has become an even greater issue on online platforms. So what we need is we need the industry to come together. All these issues can be solved by the industry. If all of us speak in one voice to the government, I'm sure the government will listen to our complaints on how GST is negatively impacting us. There has to be some solution, because the industry cannot bill out GST, but all our inputs has GST. On piracy, with the help of the government, it could help. The French government has helped the publishing industry a great deal in fighting piracy. So if we all can work together, I'm sure we can find solutions for it. And I think this publication of yours will hopefully help in that endeavor.
Thank you so much. Great, sir. Dr. Rao,
Yes.
so my question to you would be, if we resonate with the Indian book publishing with 75 years of Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav, how much have authors and publishers become liberated to share their thoughts more freely with the masses compared to the past years?
See, no, actually, my thing is what actually we should have some publication policy in the country. Any country, they should have a publication policy and pricing policy. These are the basic things which we need. Right now, Ashok sir has told that 1.46 lakhs books, that many publications have come this year or last year. But it's a kind of tentative kind of thing, because we don't have a kind of control over the publication in the country. Because because as per the Parliament Act, each and every publication has to go to particular places which are not being sent by the publishers, because there are many publications, own publications also in the country without ISBN number also. So there is no accountability right now. So that for which we need some kind of publication policy and pricing policy. These are the two things are required to make it more visible in the global market. Because right now, even how many books we publish, sir has told 1.46 lakhs. Where is that list? Right now we don't have a list of 1.46 lakh books list. Again, so if there is a policy kind, if government is strict about it, with all the publishers make it, so there will be some kind of uniformity as far as publication concerned, as far as the pricing concerned. Pricing, piracy is that is a major issue. And even pricing is also, if you look at our, sometimes I could see that many books comes to me as a complimentary also for our library, for me. And also when I go to selection for the Raja Ram Mohan Roy Library Foundation or the book selection, there I could see sometimes it is 100 pages books, 450 rupees. And 85 pages, it comes 600 rupees sometimes. So there is no, I don't know how it is being priced. So there is no pricing policy. These are the things, like Amit ji has told, when GST has to be discussed with the government, there at the same time, these are the also things has to be discussed. Of course, this being discussed for many years. Some meetings I also attended in HRD ministry, but so far nothing has worked out, which is required very much, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. So my next question would be to Mr. Ashok sir. Sir, you have been associated with the publication of 50 years and 60 years of book publishing in India. So what distinguishes this book from the earlier publication of FIP?
It is not a very difficult question. First, when we did the 50 years, it was the first time, because we thought that since independence, 50 years gone, and we should show to countrymen that what kind of progress we have made. And in the first 50 years, we covered the pre-independence 50 years plus the post-independence 50 years. Almost 100 years we covered in the first 50 years of the book. And, people were very enthusiastic. And a lot of people say that a lot of people were there from the British era also. Those who read our 50 years, that what kind of progress we made during a short period. Then 60 years is another 10 more years added to that when we did the 60 years. And we made tremendous progress in those 10 years. A lot of things happened. We made, India was made, Delhi was made a capital of the world book capital. And we did a lot of, congresses, workshops, seminars all over the world. We participated in book fairs. So some progress we made. But when we did the 50 years, at that time, Mr. Malhotra referred to our industry as a giant in slumbers, if you remember correctly. So by 60th year, we have woken up, but not fully. Now the issues which just now raised, there are two important issues. Piracy. I think piracy, in place of decreasing, it has increased because of the technology, because of the online reading, because of the scanning from books and things like that. So a lot of things have happened. At the same time, we are also somehow or the other confronting the situation and we are trying to resolve it. The other thing is the price of books. Price of books, I'm quite sure that many authors and those who are writing globally will know the prices of Indian books are very low. Now it will become almost impossible to keep the price line because every other day the price of book, main input is that of paper. It is like a gold ornament. You go to the jeweler, he can cut his labor charge and other things, but he cannot cut down the gold price. The basic price of gold remains. Same with the paper. So because of the paper price, the prices of books are going to go up in the future. And if our economy, as the Prime Minister so many times is saying, and I also agree, we will develop soon as a developed nation. And if we do that, if we take our economy at the same level as Singapore or South Korea, then our prices will be at the same level. Because only a few years ago, I was exporting my books to Singapore and South Korea because the prices were very low at that time. And they were also buying our books. But now they buy books much better produced. So if our productions are better, your prices are high, the developed nations, they buy our books. So prices will be a factor, but I think with the affluence in the economy, I think we would be able to cope up with it in the next 10, 15 years. That's what I think. But this book, the 75 years, it is basically, we are trying to tell people that we have got tremendous scope. Author Amit Tripathi is here. I have quoted in my article, you might have noticed, I read it out to you, that he has said that why not we do when the mobile manufacturers are top 10, when the bankers are top 10 in the world, where other people are top 10, why the publishing, individual publishers are not in the top 10? I also asked the same question. And he has given the answer. He has said, Professor Tripathi has said that, the Indian market is massive market. It's a huge market. And we are aiming at looking at 2030, by which we will be fully literate. If it is so, our market will be so high that we would be able to achieve within 10 years' time, we'll be getting a top spot in the publishing world. Individual publishers will be there, along with the mobile manufacturers and bankers and motorcycle manufacturers and others. Our content is good, our authors are excellent, world accepts them. So I think that we are on a very good wicket, and this book will enthuse the publishers and those who are connected with the publishing industry, because contributors are very good, very well chosen, and they have really worked very hard and contributed very well. This is what I want to say.
I'm sure everyone is extremely excited about the launch of the book very soon, and let's hope we can have that as early as possible. So I'll move on to Mr. Amish. Mr. Amish, my next question to you would be, are Indian authors on par with the global, and do you believe that debutant Indian authors don't hold as much as significance as debut global authors?
Good question, Pranav. And this. I think the best way to answer this is to build on what Ashok ji said. We have a huge market, but because there aren't too many, Indian publishers who are in the top 10, because our price points are not that high. The royalty checks, except to a few, maybe 2 authors, the royalty checks are not so much that an Indian author can become a full-time author. It's very difficult. Most Indian authors will have some other job, which reduces your capability to. And I'm not saying a job out of choice, but a job which actually takes up most of your time and earns most of your money, because they don't earn enough from the book royalty. So therefore, they are not able to devote as much time as they would like to reading, to research, because you can only be a good writer if you're a good reader. You need time to promote the books as well, which becomes difficult for many Indian authors. In terms of creative talent, we are no less than anyone else. And in fact, India is the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive. So our storytelling styles, our storytelling techniques go back right to the dawn of human civilization. Many other cultures cannot claim that deep heritage. And most Indian authors have a market. We start with a market of 1.35 billion people. Our market itself is continental in scale, but because our publishing industry is still not in the top 10, the price points are not high enough, there is still too much piracy. That also doesn't translate into good royalty checks for authors. So that perhaps has an impact. But I agree with Ashok ji, it's a matter of time before that changes. By 2030, we will be fully literate. This year, India's GDP is crossing the GDP of the UK. As we become a wealthier country, we will spend more on entertainment, on education. And I see, and there's no shortage of talent among Indian authors. That's not a problem at all. It's a matter of time before it changes.
Well said, sir. So I'll move on to Dr. Rao.
Yes.
Dr. Rao, translation publishing has allowed all Indian citizens to access regional language works. But on the other hand, translation publishing is less talked about amongst Indians. How do we create an environment where people will start giving translation importance?
Yeah, very rightly you said, it is very appropriate for particularly for Indian thing. See, we are a multilingual society, and without translation, we can't move in India. And translation is main core activity in India, I should say, because every Indian is a bilingual, if not a trilingual. Every Indian knows at least 2 or more languages, even a rickshaw puller to anyone. So that is why translation actually is more important. And without translation, India can't move. Until today, we are united, and we will be, and forever. That main because of the translation. When I am talking to you, a kind of invisible chip is going on to translation from my mother tongue to in English or whatever it may be, vice versa. So, but as you rightly said, translators were not given a much importance earlier, but now the time has changed now. Because see, if you see some a decade ago, no publisher is giving the name of the translator on the cover jacket. Only inside they used to be translated by. But now they are getting some kind of priority and all. For example, even our the institute which I represent, Sahitya Academy, our main core activity is translation. Every year we give awards in particular language, and it will be get translated into other 23 languages to make it more India united, to for a proper transformation of the culture from Manipuri to Kashmir, Kashmir to Kerala, Kerala to Maharashtra. the novel being published in Malayalam, which will be translated into Manipuri, so that a Manipuri person can read in his own language and know the culture of Kerala. So like that. So translation activity is important and particular, but at the same time, it became a challenge now. If you go back to some 3-4 decades ago, there were a good direct translators available in the country. But right now, there is a scarcity of that. Because of that, earlier, there is a Vishwabharati and BHU, Benares Hindu University. These are the main universities in the country. Some I am talking about 4 or 5 decades ago. For example, even stalwarts of those times, writers and intellectuals, they are the students of Vishwabharati and BHU. And Vishwabharati, and so they learned Bengali. Gujarati Bola Bhai Patel learned Bengali. Bezwad Gopal Reddy, who became a governor later, he was a fine Telugu writer and scholar. He was a student of Vishwabharati. Even Uma Shankar Joshi was a student of Vishwabharati, and later he became a vice chancellor. So that is why this Tagore, particularly Tagore works, were widely translated throughout the country in 1960s, 70s itself. Directly from Bengali to Malayalam, Bengali to Telugu, Bengali to Marathi, because of that time Vishwabharati and the very important, even Kuvempu, all these people directly translated Bengali to Kannada, Bengali to Telugu. So that time we don't have a much problem. But now that everywhere we have a good universities, a good, excellent educational institutes have come. So Telugu people are studying in their own Telugu areas. Marathi people are studying in Marathi. So they are not learning in that kind of the other language in which they can translate directly. So there is a scarcity of translation directly. So now we have to depend on the English and the Hindi. For example, if you give an award in Manipuri, first we have to get it translated into Hindi and English. Then only it will go to Malayalam or a Marathi, because not a single translator we have in the country. Forget about foreign languages. Making available our Indian literature into foreign languages, into Spanish and all, that may be more easier than within Indian languages. Within Indian languages, first we have to translate into Hindi, English. That has become a challenge and time consuming as well. Now I think universities also have started a departments, translation departments. Sahitya Academy also started translation workshops to giving a proper training to the translators. We are trying our level best, but a single institution like Sahitya Academy is not available. In the education system itself, we have to make it as a curriculum activity, this translation, because without translation, India can't move. So that is one challenge we are facing right now. But out of our revenue, 60 to 70% of our Sahitya Academy's revenue is from the translation only. That is another gladdening to know. Whatever the revenue we are getting, but 60 to 70% revenue is from the translations only.
Great, sir. Good to know that Sahitya Academy is doing such a brilliant work and a lot to learn from it. I have my next question to Mr. Ashok Ghosh, sir. Sir, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given a vision of our self-reliant India, the Atmanirbhar Bharat. And how do you see the Indian publishing industry? What critical role or what important role the industry has to play to help India to become self-reliant?
No, we have been, I think that publishing community itself is Atmanirbhar. Because when we started, even pre-independence also Atmanirbhar, because without self-reliant, the publishing industry could not thrive. What Mr. Modi has done, he actually told us that, you are on the right path. He approved our way of doing things. All our materials, what we use for producing a book, everything is Atmanirbhar. Authors, Atmanirbhar, the Indian authors we use majority of the time. Particularly, I am from educational publishing. All our books are written by Indian authors, which we are marketing globally. So self-reliance is there. Now, the government, the way, we are also under the MSME sector, the micro, small, and, industry. And there also the government is looking after us. But only thing is, that it has to be done more in a different way. Maybe we are not being able to project ourselves as the contributor to the Indian economy. I personally think that, like, if Mr. Modi himself just comes and just releases our book, I think we'll be charged up so much that our contribution towards the 5 trillion economy or whatever is the next, this thing will be much faster. Same is getting us on the developed nation platform. And the publishing, as you know, when you see Professor Tripathi, Amrit Tripathi, he has used the word exponential. Actually, the publishing industry is in for an exponential growth. That is what I see, that when 100% literacy will be there and the people would like to belong to a knowledge society where people would like to have their knowledge about their country, about their culture, about their civilization, about their learning, everything, then there will be tremendous exponential growth in the publishing industry. That is the way I think. And I think that that is what I would like to say.
Very well said, sir. Very well said. And I do believe that publishing is like a lifeline to the, whether it's the education system, the way it impacts the culture, the knowledge system. Publishing industry is one which really binds the other industry that way. Mr. Amish, my next question to you is that the Indian publishing industry has been at the forefront even before India became independent through the power of pen, sparking the thought of an independent India amongst the Indians during the British era. Literature played an important role in the Indian freedom struggle movement, like the national song Vande Mataram was first published as a poem in a novel used by the freedom fighters against the British oppression. What role the Indian books, Indian authors, the entire publishing ecosystem is going to play to India becoming a developed country, the vision, the India Act 2047?
Very good question. You're right. For much of our history, Indian books, Indian authors have been extremely nationalist, have supported the cause of national integration, of national development, of our freedom. It's not just in Anand Math in Bengali that you referred to, but in all our regional languages, in Marathi, in Hindi, in Tamil, so many, so there are across the country, the publishing industry has played a very, very strong and seminal role in building a national movement. But I think post-independence, among the things that happened is there was a dichotomy. I think the regional language continued to remain strong and nationalist. At times, there was a feeling that the English language publishing got a little too westernized. Some readers had this approach, and maybe that did have an impact for a few decades. But I don't think that is the issue anymore. Even the English language publishing is now deeply aligned to India. Of course, we are a diverse country. All of us have a right to our points of view. We celebrate unity in diversity. But among the key things that always has to be clear is whatever our differences, loyalty to the country has to be above everything else. That we can celebrate our differences, but loyalty to the country, desh sarvopari. And that I think the publishing industry has always been a very, very strong proponent of.
Thank you so much. And it's a great response, I must say. And there's a lot the Indian authors and the entire ecosystem has to work together, and unitedly we need to go ahead and achieve a lot for our country. Dr. Rao, my next question to you. Sahitya Academy having the mandate of promoting the Indian culture, not only in India and globally. What are the key initiatives at the Government of India level to promote the Indian culture through books, not only in India, but at the global forefront? Because the government policy really helps us to decide how the Indian authors, especially the debutant authors, what kind of writing flair they should adopt, and on what all subjects does the government expect the more content the literature should come, and it should be disseminated not only at the national level but at the global level.
Yeah, you rightly said. See, for last almost 8-9 years, we were trying to get separate funds for promoting Indian literature abroad. Yeah, that scheme name itself called as Indian literature abroad. And of course, some books we have brought out. See, they are promoting. One is that through publishing, and another is culture. Of course, we send our writers delegation to abroad. That is what regularly happens. And sometimes we organize Festival of India in Peru, Cuba, and other countries. And sometimes, as you know, the India is a guest country in the various book fairs. For example, 2-3 years ago at Mexico, and last, I think this year in Paris also. Earlier, regularly used to. That time also we will try to promote our Indian authors in abroad through in Indian book fairs itself, international book fairs. But as you write, that is not happening the way it should happen. It was very slow, I should say. That is why we are unable to present ourselves in a global market in a proper way. Of course, few handful of like Amish ji or the few major English authors are being presented at a global level. That is okay. But Indian language authors, whether it is a Marathi or a Tamil or any other language authors, they are not being presented properly at a global level. Okay, within India, we have a very good market. For example, in Tamil, see, Sahitya Academy is 1/3 revenue we get from Tamil language. It's a very good book market we have. As soon as we declared the award last year, before last year, MM is author, and immediately within a month, 10,000 copies of his award-winning book got sold out in a Chennai book fair. So it happens in certain languages, Indian book, but at the same time, the same author we should present before the global. That is more important. But Honorable Prime Minister of India, when he visited Bishkek 3 years ago in 2019 in SCO summit, he said that we will publish 10, at least to begin with 10 modern Indian classics. We will translate into SCO country languages, that means Russian and Chinese. So accordingly, we have made use of this pandemic. So our scholars completely, they concentrated on the translation activity. And we have published 10 books in 2021, 10 modern Indian classics into Chinese language as well as Russian language. And it was a very good project, and we have fulfilled the PM's commitment, and timely we delivered, because 2021 our India was the chairman for the SCO countries. So that time PM has announced through and Vice President of India has released virtually. So that happened. But the way, not necessarily that 1.46 lakhs books to be presented, but at least some major authors of Indian languages to be translated into UN languages, that the 6 major languages what our United Nations have recognized, the Spanish, Russian, and other the Arabic and those languages. We should translate major Indian authors into those languages. Then only we can pick up the market, because in Spanish there is very good readership is there. See, some 5-6 years ago, when in Havana, India was a guest country, immediately we got it to 10 modern Indian classics into Spanish language. But so far we couldn't find out any publisher to publish those 10 books. We spent huge, near about some 40-50 lakhs rupees for translation. And particularly we got it translated from the native Spanish scholars. So that is a direct translation. And we have appointed one project in charge, who is Dr. Shama Prasad Ganguly, is called as almost like a grandfather of Spanish in India. So he supervised. Those 10 books have come very well, but we are finding difficult to get a publisher of those 10 books. So it is also there. So for which government has to come forward a little bit faster than what they are now. I'm not criticizing or anything, but still, no, we need that to promote our Indian authors at abroad. Within India, it's okay, but still within India also there are certain languages, particularly the literature what we publish, whether it is a poetry or fiction or a short story or a criticism. Not much readership also in certain languages like Dogri or Sindhi. Sindhi is almost Arabic script is vanishing slowly. Now this younger generation is started reading only Devanagari script. So Devanagari script has to be recognized first. That script has to be recognized. In certain state level governments have already approved it. So institute like Sahitya Academy and all, they have to think about it. With the younger generation, they won't be able to read Arabic script. And it's going, for example, in Konkani, there are 5 scripts are being used. This Goa, the Hindus, those who are in Goa, they are following Devanagari script. The Christians are following Roman Konkani. The Konkani people, those who are staying in Mangalore, Karnataka, they are writing in Kannada script. The people who are in because before the Portuguese time, many Konkanis were settled in Cochin area. They are writing in Malayalam script. Even still, for script also there. So the script problem is also there. With even example, this Santhal is another 8th scheduled language. It is being written in many scripts. Whole Chiki script is being recognized. But in Jharkhand, other states, the Santhal, those who are staying, so we publish in Volchiki. So our target readership and the consumer, these are only in Volchiki script. What about the other script people? So not many copies we were selling. So that is still these problems are there, for which now this technology has come with new gadgets, automatic translation or transliteration, not translation, transliteration. So we have to see it. So that is one problem we are facing even within the country and outside also.
So I can say there is slow and steady progress, but a long way to go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I have one last question for Mr. Amish.
Ji.
Mr. Amish, the pen is mightier than the sword. This adage has been with us long before Indian independence. Authors were penalized for their works earlier and still face backlash from people. The recent attack on our author Salman Rushdie has proven the same and raised the questions and about the voice of authors. Your thoughts on this?
There is a world outside of India. There is a world within India, and this is a discussion that has been happening, since times immemorial. Our traditional culture does not have a concept of blasphemy. In fact, in Vedic Sanskrit, there's no translation for the English word blasphemy. We didn't have a concept, so we didn't have a word for it. Our ancestors celebrated freedom of thought, which is why our ancestors were always among the greatest intellectuals, the greatest thinkers, the greatest scientists, the greatest navigators, the greatest seafarers. Knowledge requires a scientific attitude. A scientific attitude needs a spirit of questioning. There are some cultures which do have a concept of blasphemy. And you'll find that those cultures find it very difficult to keep a scientific temper running. And which is why you'll find very few scientific achievements come from those cultures. This is a debate that has been happening across the world for the last 2000 years. When the West was able to get over its violent suppression of blasphemy, that is when they emerged as successful, scientific, and modern. It is in the selfish interest of most cultures to celebrate a scientific and questioning spirit. Let's see how the debate pans out. There are some cultures that are comfortable with it. There are some cultures that are not comfortable with questioning. Let's see how the debate pans out.
Well said, sir. So I have a last question to all of you and would like to have remarks with all from all the 3 panelists. And I'll start with Mr. Ashok Ghosh, sir. Sir, the publishing industry has been instrumental in nation building for decades. The sector facilitates disseminating and the sharing of information, knowledge, and ideas. Publishing industry is considered to be the lifeline of the education system. It drives the economies both nationally and internationally. Publishing industry seems to be an engine of progress and innovation. Where do you see currently the Indian publishing industry as of now? And what do you see the target for the next 10 to 25 years, the Indian publishing industry at 2047? The closing remarks from all of you. I'll start with you, sir.
No, I will be repeating it because first of all, I am not going to wait for 25 years, because I will be going with Amish Tripathi ji, that why not in 10 years? That is number one. Number two, in my article also I have written that if you see our Prime Minister, what he does is he set a goal. He set a goal that this is what we have to. We have to be a developed nation. Then he does not give the time that you have to do it in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. He wants you to do it as quickly as possible. And right now, Amish ji said something. We have got a culture. We have to follow that. We have to follow our tradition. We believed in freedom of thought. We believe in expression. We believe in everything. So we need not have to rethink on our tradition and culture. We know what is our culture. Only thing many of us have forgotten. Many of us, we do not read about our culture, about our tradition. And this would be our job. Now, with just getting the literacy is not going to solve our publishing problem. After literacy, you have to read also. You have to tell, you have to motivate people to read more. Mr. Rao talked about translation and all that. He very simply, he explained it to me because major languages, Hindi and English, everybody is translating in Hindi and English and from their visual. So we know all the formats, we know the knowledge, we have everything with us. Only we have to use it in a self-reliant mode. All the time we are thinking somebody else will do our job. No, we ourselves will do our job. It is we, the people, who will take this country forward along with good leadership of the country's politicians and other people, academics. Everybody will lead us to the right path. And that is the way I will live. I am quite sure in next 10 years, we'll achieve quite a lot. This is what I say.
Dr. Rao, closing. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Well said. Dr. Rao, closing remarks from you.
Oh,
A closing remarks from you.
yeah, nothing, because everything our Ashok sir has already told. As he said, no, we have to come back to see our original roots and about our own traditions and cultures. And in the course of that, naturally, other things will follow. Right now, we are lacking many things, particularly the younger generation. Values, cultural values. See, for example, earlier we have a letter writing. Now there is no letter writing. So there is no addressing to father from a son, from daughter to even father writing to daughter. That those salutations have already gone. For present generation, if you keep on saying something, it become a myth for them. They don't have a patience to listen to you. So that is what I think all of us, particularly, I should not say Amishti is very young and you also Pranav very young, but we are all facing at our home this old traditional values. First, we have to, as he rightly said, only literacy is not enough. We have to bring back our original roots. That is what our Honorable Prime Minister and the present government is trying to bring back those things. And I am sure we will succeed because it has to start from our home. Instead of raising finger at others and giving speeches at the various platforms, we have to start from our home. Naturally, again, we can see what we were some 500 or 1,000 years back, what we were, and those golden days, it will come. Of course, we are now one of the leaders in the world, but with cultural and traditional values, we will come back. If, for example, if you see in Israel, Hebrew language, it has gone, but they have completely revived now. that Hebrew language. They have revived. Now everything they are working. Why not? If we start, we can do it. All those things. So this is only my wish that very soon we will come back to those days.
Great, sir. Thank you so much. Amish, one final concluding remarks from you.
Completely agree with what Ashok ji and Rao ji have said. This is, I genuinely believe, among the most exciting times to be an Indian in the last 1,000 years. This year, our GDP has crossed that of the UK. We will probably cross, most economists will say, within the next few years, the GDP of Germany and Japan as well will be among the top 3 economies in the world. Businessmen, scientists, soldiers are all doing a good job, but among the key things, and on that I completely agree with Ashok ji, among the key things that Rauji said, which I agree with it as well, that if we become wealthy, if we return to the space, to the place we had in the Comity of Nations 800, 900 years ago, but if we lose our culture, then what's the point of winning? We should, I have nothing against Western culture. There are good things that we can learn from our Western culture, but we must remain connected to our roots. And our culture remains strong only when we ensure that our children are connected to our culture. We are the oldest living culture in the world. We are the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive. China is not pre-Bronze Age. China is just around 3,500, 4,000 years old. Pre-Bronze Age, matlab minimum 5,000 years old. So we are the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive. And the reason we are alive is because every single generation of Indians ensured that they passed on the priceless heritage of our culture, of our ancient culture, on to the next generation. And some of our ancestors in the last 1,000 years did it in the most difficult of times, when we were facing barbaric invaders. Right now, India is the safest it has been in many centuries. So our generation actually has it easy. We must ensure that we pass on this priceless ancient heritage that we are the inheritors of. We must pass it on to the next generation.
Great, sir. So what I could make out is everyone has its own bit to do for the nation. And as we say in Hindi, मानव जीवन लक्ष्य युक्त है, व्यर्थ गवाना ठीक नहीं, सूर्य चंद्र बन में आपको जीवन सार्थक होगा तभी. With all this, all of us need to do our bit. एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत बनाने में हम सबको काम करना है, हम सबको अपना योगदान देना है. With all this, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to all the 3 panelists for sparing your valuable time and coming and joining us on the Frontiers Media Spotlight show for the 75th Azadi ka Amrit mahotsav. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pranav.
Thank you so much.